Good, I think we're ready to start the hearing on limited site plan review for Meadowbrook School. Before we start, are you guys looking for special permits on wetlands and floodplain protection or earth movement?
No, I submitted some analysis to John that indicates we don't need those.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
So
not.
we don't even need to open those hearings because we don't even have them.
Correct.
Okay. So, interesting. All right.
I can tell you why you're interested, or do you? John,
What I think I'll
John
do
has
is,
a lot of record.
well, I'll just read them into the record.
This is
Okay. So we've given this, probably if we could try to wind this up by 9 o'clock.
Do my best to be quick.
Okay.
I do have past 1,000, so I've instructed them to be quick as well.
Okay, good. So if you guys could maybe try to keep your presentation to say 20, 25 minutes, and that would give us time for questions and comments.
Okay.
And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Al Iwan. I'm the chairman of the planning board, and these are other members.
Tony Clement. Really good.
Sue Zacharias.
Okay, Rob, are you doing the,
John?
who's doing the? Guy Field.
Yeah, what, in fact, we're going to truncate the first part of the presentation, which he was going to give you an introduction, but I think you've heard that.
Yeah, we've heard the introduction
You know where it's
several times,
Yeah, so we'll get right to the site plan. So,
get right to the meat and potatoes.
John, I might have you skip around a little bit if you don't mind. So this is,
Stick around.
Forward, back.
so this is Meadowbrook School. It's a 29-acre campus. I think everyone in the room is probably very familiar with where the school is at. So we can move ahead to the, maybe the existing conditions plan, John. Oh, this thing doesn't. Which one? Yeah, you can run it. So actually flip back to. Yeah, so this first slide, is that the laser too?
Yes. The center rectangle.
So this is the overall campus. Farm Road being on the top sheet, Summer Street here, Autumn Road over in this location. This is the entrance into the school with the main turnaround at the courtyard to the school right here. So, can you hear? Do the best I can. So at any rate, this is the main school, and what we're talking about tonight is reconstructing this portion of the school, which is the lower school library of the existing school. So the building is already there, so really what we're talking about tonight is taking down an existing building and putting a new building in essentially the same location. It's a slightly bigger footprint than the building that's there, but not significantly so. If you just bear with me while I read some of my notes. The existing footprint is about 12,000 square feet, and the new footprint of the building is going to be 15,000 square feet and change, so it's roughly the same size. Thank you. And there's a couple of things that are going on with this project. One would be the actual construction of the building, which is one phase. But prior to that, they need to do some enabling work to allow the actual building to take place, which would involve installing temporary classrooms, which are classrooms, for lack of a better term, that are basically on trailers. And then B, there's a transformer that needs to be relocated that's within the footprint of the new building, so they need to relocate that before they can demo the existing building. And the third component of this overall project is this building is 21 Autumn Road, which is an existing house, which the school owns, which will stay an existing house. But behind it, they're proposing a small parking area, which will also serve during the enabling and construction phase as a staging area for the construction and the management of the project. So, if I can flip maybe to, let's see this. So on the enabling phase, the first point that I'll touch on is the temporary classroom. As everyone's, again, pretty familiar with this campus, I believe, the classrooms are going in the location that the existing ball field is here. This is the diamond for the ball field, and the play equipment for the kids is over here. So the classroom is going on the existing ball field, and that's supported on temporary structures. It's 7,000 square feet, and it's a series of trailers that are similar to what's being proposed or being actually used at the police station right now, although probably a different supplier. And in order, going along with the temporary classroom, there is some utility work. There's a connection to the existing septic system, there's a water line, and there's communications and electric lines that'll run from the main school. But this is a good location for the classroom because it's really close to the existing school, so the utility work that's necessary to bring the utilities to the temporary classroom is minimal. And also, as we'll get into later, it serves as a great place because this is where we drop the students off, so they'll be right near the temporary classrooms. The other aspect of the enabling phase, again, there's a transformer in this location that needs to be relocated, and there's a staging area in this location that will be constructed and eventually turned into a parking lot. Also included, there's a connection between the Grinker gym and the lower school that's being reconstructed, and this touches on the Weston Wetland and Floodplain Protection District, in that connection exists, and we're actually reducing the square footage of the building from 1,300 square feet to 800 square feet, so it's about a 400 square foot reduction. And the bylaw, the Wetland and Protection overlay bylaw, allows for reconstruction as long as you don't increase the footprint by more than 20% of the structure. So that's why we don't need a special permit for that work. And the temporary classrooms are outside the district as well. So there's no work proposed within the district that requires a permit. So this shows the new location of the building. There'll be expanded sidewalk in there, and this is the parking lot area that we're talking about there. In building the structure, we lose 7 parking spaces, and the original proposal was 19 new spaces in this location, so we have a net gain of 12 parking spaces, although as a result of the sidewalk, and I'll touch on it a little later, we actually reduced this parking lot from 19 spaces down to 11, and I'll show you the benefits and the impact of that change in a minute. In terms of stormwater management, right now, the McDowell Center discharges into a subsurface water system, galley system over in this location that has 56 galleys, and we're increasing that galley system by 24 galleys to accept additional stormwater from this building, which will we'll end up with a net decrease in volume and rate of runoff from the site, and that's one of your criteria on building in the site plan review, is to look at stormwater. We do end up with about 5,000 square feet of additional impervious area from this project, and when I get to the parking lot, you see that's an additional impervious area of about 3,000 square feet. We don't trigger the earth removal bylaw because we end up with with a net cut on site of only about 130 cubic yards of soil when all is said and done, and that's primarily from the parking lot. So that's kind of a symbol work pretty quickly, but what I wanted to do, this again shows the new learning center in a little bit less graphic detail. I wanted to get to and just spend a minute on was this sheet, which is the parking lot, because we had a site visit with the planning board last week, and I think one of the concerns that I heard on the site was how much earthwork was going on with this, and how many trees were being removed on the site. So we took a look at it in terms of what the school's actual needs are and what we could do about it. So I reconfigured this parking lot. We went from 19 to 11 spaces. And if you look at the number of contour lines that are shown cut here, you can see there's significantly less cut here. We reduced the total cut, or the maximum cut, from about 7 feet in this diagram to about 4 feet here. So we eliminated about 3 feet of the cut on the high side. And if you look at the fill on that side, there's about 4 feet of fill. We really eliminated all the fill on that side. So I reduced the earthwork down by over 40% there.
What about the retention pond?
Well, this is actually a result of the fact that this entire campus lies tributary to the city of Cambridge water supply, the Stony Brook Reservoir. So we first submitted this plan to the city of Cambridge with the design proposal at that time that we were going to use porous pavement to deal with the stormwater from that parking lot. And Cambridge came back in that because there's a tributary right here that feeds into Stony Brook Reservoir, they weren't comfortable with porous pavement, the idea that if someone's gas tank or oil pan let go, there'd be no way to collect that spill before it flowed into the channel and potentially into the reservoir. So what they asked us to do is to put in a treatment system, a storm scepter, a gate valve so you could shut the flow off if any disaster did occur, and then send it into a rain garden. So that is a rain garden, but where that rain garden is, it actually falls into this area here. So that's not additional cut and fill work that wasn't included within the original proposal. And in terms of tree work, we actually went from, this had 19 trees coming down. 6 of them were relatively small, 4-inch diameter pines, but the rest of them were, there were some large red oaks, 1 large Norway maple, and 1 36-inch sugar maple. So when I redid this, we actually saved the sugar maple and 7 of the red oaks. So we're only down to taking down a couple of red oaks, and the rest of the trees, there are 9 trees, Mara, coming down on this, or was it 7? 7. There's 7 trees coming down here. 4 of them are pine trees with a diameter less than 4 inches. 2 of them are pine trees with 6-inch diameter, and the other tree is one big red oak coming down. So we significantly reduced the number of trees coming down from the day we had the site walk. So,
Are any new trees going up?
yeah, and I'll let the landscaper talk about that. Everything goes areas in the project. So that's the site project, really quickly, abbreviated. I can answer any questions now, or I can turn it over to the rest of the team.
Let's go through the whole thing.
Okay, so we want to go to architecture.
Sure. We have to skip.
The OMR presentation.
Oh, okay, so, would you like to present the building? Sure. Let's get it up. Well, this one? No. The one that has, maybe this one? There we go. All right. I'll let you do that.
My name is Lee Sherwood. I'm from OMR Architects.
Thank you.
And this isn't it. You want to go to?
You have to go down there. Yeah, all the way down.
I'm still going to say
Up to this.
That's good.
All right.
In some ways, this is a good way to visualize what we're trying to do here. Most of your questions may be about site. But we really wanted to show you this aerial drawing. You see McDowell, and then you see the existing series of older buildings right here that we're actually taking down. So it's a wonderful comparison to see how this very kind of choppy and kind of strange edge gets filled by a building that really nestles right in and connects to all the other buildings. What you're going to see is that we're taking the McDowell Center, bringing its roof and its height right across, and all of the pieces. We don't even change the drop-off lanes or anything. We're just more efficient, and we actually are able to do 3 stories a building within the, you know, the 2.5 story height. And it's really no taller than this, except we use the attic. Next. On the lowest level, one would get dropped off by a car or walk along, and this becomes, the link becomes actually a lower school entry. The other entries are up top, and you've been in the courtyard up top. This becomes more of a gateway through, so all the kids can come in safely and enter, come into the building, and the building connects to McDowell on all 3 levels, and it connects to the older building on the 2 levels that it is. So this building is a link and a bridge and does a lot of things for wayfinding. On the lower level is all of the little kids. And then as you, go ahead. And as you go to the second level, you go up this stair, or this one right here, this is where there's more classrooms, and this is where all of the learning commons stuff happens. Everybody knows the main courtyard, right? We're on the main courtyard level. You've walked in there. So what we do is, you'll see we hardly change this a bit. We come in and there's a rotunda for the community. And this becomes the learning center, 3 stories of that with the library above. And then this is all lower school. And a little bit of middle school science in order to make the middle school program work really well. Next. And then on the upper floor, you can see how we have all the dormers marching around here and giving it scale. We actually connect to the upper level of the McDowell Center, which has no connection right now. So we're improving how everything flows and works. And this is the library up top. We're bringing, as you say, have a sustainable energy and analytics. We're bringing natural daylighting down into the building and trying to share it throughout the center. And in terms of a section, here's the Grinker Gym, and here's that little link right here for the lower school. You can see how you go into the lower level, and then actually we step down, just like into the McDowell level right here. And so each time when you go past the lower school, it steps down into the learning commons, and here are those monitors that bring light down into the different areas. And this is through the courtyard, and you can see a very nice section. And what it really does is allow everyone to see out into the trees and be part of the world. Next. So we do renderings like this because sometimes you really can't tell what's going on with an elevation since it's flat in real life. This looks very much like the building that you've seen already, except it's actually 2 stories. So we took the McDowell 2 stories and wrapped it around with the same architecture, and here's the McDermott entrance. And then on the other side, you can see that this really is just a very appropriate, scaled, the right kind of architecture, the kind of architecture that takes McDowell and brings it around to create uniformity. It's safe, it has lots of windows, and it's open for the kids. So we just wanted to give you a sense of this building and what it's trying to do. I don't know if, lastly, we do not go over the height limit, and we mind it.
What are you, right at 37?
No, actually, we're 8 inches below 37. And the monitors, which are part of the ornamental zone, are only 3 foot higher. Instead of there's a 20-foot ornamental zone.
Are you calling them cupolas?
Well, you can call them cupolas, monitors, anything. You know, it says cupolas in the, they are light. They're clearly light monitors or cupolas. They have flat roofs because you just can't see them as they sit in there, so there's no reason to put pitch on.
Yeah, I mean, just terminology. There's, anyway. Okay, so, good. So, landscaping and lighting,
Yes.
who's doing that?
Right this way. That's I grab Alice.
This has a nice,
This way. Gotcha. We'll start with landscape.
Hi, I'm Tim Mackey. I'm with Richard Brooks, Architects, Landscape Architects. There is the landscape site plan. Just a few comments to make about this. We have now a new continuous sidewalk wrapping around McDowell, past the building and to this entrance. There are connections along the way to the various entrances into the building. At this area, we changed from concrete paving to small aprons of concrete pavers, just in that area. In terms of screening, there's quite a bit of utilities, above-ground utilities in this area. There's a chiller, a transformer, there's a bank of AC condensers. Those are going to be screened with fencing, and also where we have room, we're going to have shrubs and some small trees. The same goes for this area right here, where we have a few above-grade utilities. I think it's a generator and a transformer. Other than that, the landscape aspect of it is pretty simple. We have a small area of lawn. We have a pretty simple native palette of plants, shrubs, some small trees, and a little area of ground cover. But that's kept pretty tight to the building.
What are you doing around the parking lot?
We can go to the next one. Okay, so here's the adjusted parking lot, accessible walk up to the entrance of the building. There is an existing lawn there. We're adjusting that a little bit so it comes up and engages the parking lot. And then where we do have cuts and fills on either side, we're going to be planting mostly native ground covers, ferns, some sedges, foam flower, things like that. And the sedge would be the plant that's in the bottom of the rain garden, which we've had success with.
Just behind that, or say at the edge of that, say where the cut slope begins, we've actually got a number of 20-inch and larger red oaks already there. And a couple of those, or several of those, are actually ones that were originally coming down and now being saved. So I don't know that there's too much room to put in any other species type trees in there that could work.
I think there'll be a pretty good canopy there.
What about the lighting? Are you doing lighting?
I'm not doing mine.
We have a
Let's do the
lighting
lighting.
engineer.
Okay.
On to you.
Alex, Mara, that's.
Yeah, I'm Alex, I'm from Art House Engineering. So the lighting, we're trying to keep it pretty simple. We wanted to meet the requirements of code, we require an average 1-foot candle along the pathways. Weston requires or like the dark sky compliance, so all of our fixtures meet that requirement. And then we also tried to be conscientious of our neighbors in terms of the fixtures we picked and how we located them. So there's kind of three main fixtures on the site. We have pole fixtures that are kind of in the parking lot, and then at the entrance areas over here, and then around this side. Those are all, you can go to the next slide for me. It's this fixture here. It looks like that, not necessarily that pole, but it's a full cutoff, dark sky compliant fixture. The neighbors don't have to worry about seeing any sort of light source. All the LEDs are tucked up into the fixture, so it's just providing light where we want it. It's not going to have any glow that's unwanted and seen by anyone outside the site. You can go back again for me. So we have those in the parking lot area at the entrance to the gym, and then around on this side. We have the same fixture head for the wall-mounted building lights. This guy, which is shown here on a building mounted, back again. And those are all along the new addition. And then we have some back here where this new path going to the temporary classrooms. We want to make sure we have illumination to get the students back to those classrooms safely. And then there's a bollard fixture as well that's been, this guy over here. There's currently a bollard fixture on the site, and we're kind of replicating that and using that as a smaller scale on the pathway linking the new parking lot over to 21 Autumn. In terms of the light distributions, we try to keep those as tight where we need it as possible. We've got two fixtures, two pole fixtures that have the full circle, and that is just to be connecting just down to this parking lot area, and then all the other fixtures have basically a half circle distribution curve, which lets us really kind of push the light where we want it. So like all these bollards over here are all aiming onto the pathways, and we're not spilling backwards to our neighbors to the south. In general, we try to, like I said, we try to keep it pretty simple. All the light is very tight to the site. It should have very minimal, if any, impact on the neighbors. There's no spillage of light. They'll just see kind of flow of the building. They won't actually see any luminaires, blinding anyone. We've added quite a bit of light to the site compared to what's there now. However, in doing so, I think we're improving the quality of light there and improving the safety of students and bringing it up to code.
How many fixtures are you proposing for the temporary facility?
The temporary classroom has 6 fixtures. These are all, they're pretty utilitarian fixtures. They've all got full cutoff as well. They're dark sky compliant. I'm trying to see a picture of them. I don't think we have one here. There's a small image of them on the previous slide, right over here. The intent is that once the temporary classrooms are, completed or their use is over, that those fixtures will go away as well.
Why do you need 6? To light the path, is that what you're doing?
Yes, they'll light the path. So their path kind of comes around this side, and then there's a path on this side. We're trying, had a couple different strategies going into this, and using the building mounts was the most cost-effective and efficient way to light those paths and reduce needing any extra pole fixtures in this area. So it's more efficient and cost-effective way to do it.
What's the net amount of lumens you're gonna
We added, so on the site existing, there's about 65,000 lumens. So that's basically what's right in here being replaced. We're adding, in the same area footprint, we're adding these 73,000 lumens. And then so the way I saw it was this was going to be replacing what's already there. So we're adding about 10,000 lumens to what is existing. And then the areas such as adding lighting for the parking lot and the pathway between and autumn, and adding the lighting here is kind of a site improvement. There's 61,000 lumens with that.
versus 0 right now?
Versus 0 right now. I know it sounds like a large number. However, like I said, we're illuminating it to make it better for the students. It's more safe. We're getting it to meet code, and it's something that's not there now that we're adding. So there's no choice but to add.
We discovered it in code. It's an average of 1 foot candle.
1 foot candle, yeah.
How many lumens on the temporary facility?
The temporary classroom has just shy of 12,000 lumens. And like I said, those will all go away once the temporary classrooms are.
Hopefully it won't be that 15 months.
It's the construction schedule.
That's
Starting, when do you think you start?
will be enabling work hopefully in June. Oh, no, sorry, in March. And full construction when the school ends in June. The temporary facilities won't go in until after the enabling work is done. So it's part of the enabling.
So you're hoping to finish by the start of the school year 2017?
Correct. The schedule that we're going to hold Chaplin to, and they tell us they can do it, is 2 summers, 1 school year.
All right, so the temporary facilities there, 2016, 2017, until September, or roughly?
Yes.
September 2017, okay.
We have a shared incentive to get them out of there as quickly as possible. They're not very expensive.
And the utility service to the temporary facility is underground or overhead?
I believe it is all underground. and the electrical.
Yeah.
It's all within proximity to the existing,
Okay.
with the existing structure.
So when you remove that, you're going to also be taking out that electrical utility?
I believe, but I'm not positive.
Or what are you
They'll
gonna do
just,
with it? Just leave it there?
cut it, stub it.
They'll pull the wires.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave the conduit and pull the wires?
Yeah.
They'll pull the wires.
Okay, and the, what about plumbing for that? Are they going to go to the school to go to the bathroom?
No, there will be bathroom, restroom facilities. Unfortunately, the temporary facilities are very close to the existing leaching field.
The existing tanks and everything are almost right there, so we have a pretty simple connection to get into it, and water's right there as well, so.
So the tanks are actually in that, by the playground, in that parking lot, right in front of the temporary facilities there.
Everything's sort
So
of
the
within
tie-in
50
is-
feet of that building.
Thankfully, very simple.
Do you need a generator for it?
I don't believe so. It's gonna have temporary power.
What if the power goes down?
Probably wall packs.
Wall packs?
Typically, I mean, I've done 1,000 temporary.
Green grass lighting, yeah.
Yeah, just for that?
Yeah.
They have a generator.
Huh?
They have a generator. They have to go back to the center.
Generate for the main school, but not.
Yeah.
Well, that's different.
This doesn't have any elevators or anything like that, so usually they come with like the wall pack wires.
Yeah, just to get people out of the building.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Anybody else, questions, comments?
We have
Yeah, go ahead.
a couple other things. One thing I should have mentioned in my presentation is, I think everyone knows that there's no population or student increase or staff increase with this. It's stable, just to serve the existing population. And we know that constructability and traffic and everything are concerns, so we do have consultants here prepared to address those if you want to hear from them.
Well, yeah, why don't we?
Okay, so when we start with traffic, just during construction.
My name is Matt Keely, I'm a traffic engineer with VHB. Our role in the project is really to address the impacts that construction would have on traffic circulation and parking. We really had our focus on the pickup operations in the afternoon, because that's when the activity on site really starts to peak. We had a specific focus on the all-school dismissal periods, which is, it happens about 10 times a year when all the grades get dismissed at once, and that's really when traffic and pickup and queuing are at their peak during the year. So just for orientation here, this is the school, Farm Road, the main driveway, Western Loop, and this is the main pickup loop. For normal dismissals, this is the pattern that we see here. We come in off Farm Road, go down the main driveway, around this loop here, onto this loop, and the pickup happens right here, and everybody exits onto Farm Road. Under existing conditions, we did some observations of an all-school dismissal. We saw our vehicle queue of about 2,200 feet, which brings yourself right up to about right up to Summer Street, but does not queue back onto Summer Street. So that's what we know we had to accommodate with the construction conditions in place. Now, identifying that impact was actually relatively simple, because under construction, from here all the way down here is going to be construction access only. And currently, that's the loop that's used for pickup, and it can accommodate approximately 700 feet of queue. So it's about 25 to 28 vehicles. So our charge was really to find where we can store an additional 25 to 28 vehicles on the existing site, and try to minimize any impacts that we have on neighborhood streets. So we need to replicate that 700 feet. We looked at various options. We go to the next slide. Just to show you what would the normal school dismissal, which is a much lighter activity than the all-school dismissal, that could be accommodated with this modified loop here, where we just do the pickup at this side of the building here, the queue in the upper parking area here, come around and then exit onto Farm Road. So during a regular, normal dismissal levels, we don't anticipate that to be a problem, but we had to address how much traffic we had to accommodate during the peak all-school dismissal, which will be on the next slide. We looked at a number of options. This is the option that we decided was the best. It's going to be a 3-tiered system. It's very similar to how they operate. They operate very efficiently on site today. So tier 1 would be coming in here, go down to the existing loop,
And once that queued back to about this point, we would kick in tier 2, which we would have entry only onto Autumn Road and use the whole upper parking area, which would stop right here. And then if any additional cars arrived after that, we would kick in tier 3, which would send vehicles up to Cedar Road, and then they could queue on Farm Road. And with this plan, we're able to accommodate that 2,200-foot queue without spilling out onto the neighborhood streets. Just an aside on Autumn Road, the gate will remain closed and will only be used for entrance only for the all-school dismissal period.
It happened 10 times a year.
Which only happens 10 times a year. We just wanted to make sure that we have procedures in place to address that, just to minimize any impacts of the distress. In terms of parking, this area right here is going to be designated as construction parking. It only takes up 12 spaces. We did some parking counts at the end of the school year. We were about 60% occupied, so we had about 59 to 63 spaces available on a normal school day, and we're only taking up 12 for designated construction activities. So we're not anticipating any parking impacts on a daily basis. That's my presentation in a nutshell, but I can
Just
answer
to
questions.
go back, it looks like you have some other, I think Rob said that this was also construction related to green areas over
Yes.
the
Yes.
parking lot area and that strip. I suppose that's for staging and that sort of thing, is that what it
Yeah,
is?
that's staging and crane, and then construction management and staging of with the parking lot.
So there'll be a fence here. This is why this area can't really be used for any pickup activity.
We are maintaining a fire lane there, and we've talked to the fire department about what their needs are.
With an active campus both during the summer and the school year, we're trying to isolate the construction areas as much as possible. Keeping it all in one central location in the back of the building, away from where students get dropped off, picked up, and moved between the buildings.
Your analysis applies to morning traffic as well?
The morning traffic is more fluid. It's the afternoon where people show up early and queue and wait for their students to be dismissed. That's when you see the queues form on site and back onto the farm.
You're not worried about the morning airflow?
No. We also addressed the summer camp issue, that they're so reliant on the buses now that there really isn't a queuing issue associated with summer camp.
Really, I guess we could handle it during the maybe Q&A session. If you have any questions on construction, we have the construction manager, Sean, here. They can address that aspect of it.
Well, all right. Let's do that. Dave, how does this look to you?
I mean, the stormwater is fine, it's pretty, I mean, for all the work, it's not that big of a change on the footprint.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Cambridge Water had some comments and they addressed them. I mean, I didn't quite agree with Cambridge Water's comments, but, you know, nothing came myself to it.
Yeah, can't win that argument.
Must have been quite a shock, though. Well, never mind.
Too old to get shot.
All right, guys, questions? You know about construction vehicles?
We were there at 8 a.m. and I just remember the traffic flow was a bit congested. People parking, people pulling out. We had to park on the grass for the road. I'm just wondering if there's any thought about traffic flow improvements, in other words, based on at least what I experienced, or whether it's just not necessary. You happen to be there on an unusual day.
Well, the time that you were there is the busiest part of the night, and where we chose to eat was also sort of the busier area, because the junior kindergarten class and the kindergarten class for the first half of the year, the parents actually walk the students into the class, into the school. So they actually park and bring the kids in.
As opposed to drop off.
As opposed to just a drop off, where it's more fluid. So the cars are actually there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes as opposed to being in and out. So that that will have to change as a result of this for a year while we don't have access to that rear pickup and drop-off area. And the school's working a new plan for that type of drop-off. But yes, that's been there, and because of that, contract with our construction manager, Shaman, will stipulate that there will be no deliveries during that certain time period where we're doing drop-off in the morning. So there'll be certain times during the day that actual construction vehicles can come on site and deliver materials. There'll actually be a process where those vehicles are, there's advance notice, they're actually walked in, somebody comes out and meets them, directs them to exactly the right place, so they're not going to the front circle. Shaman has dealt with logistics like this at Belmont Day School, Belmont Hill, Dana Hall. They're very used to dealing with a campus like this, that's why we hired them. And in order to ensure that our students are safe and that anybody can force their subcontractors to abide by those regulations, we're confident that it's that way.
And it's a very short period of time, I imagine, it's something like 8:45.
Exactly. It's a window within each day that they can make those deliveries. We're working on a construction management now that will be part of every staff contract. Still forward progress, but there will be one.
The other question I had was just the poles, how tall are the poles at the parking lot?
We're doing 12-foot mounting heights. Yeah, so more of a pedestrian scale.
And it's an average of 1 foot candle. I'm just curious about how intense is the most intense light? What's the
I
difference?
think the highest, just my memory, I think the highest would probably be 3 to 4 foot candles, and that's usually directly under the fixture. And there are not any areas that come to mind immediately that are higher than that in the parking lot areas. I know closer into the buildings and in the link area, we have some downlights that kind of help boost that brightness into the building, but in terms of the parking lot areas and the areas that could be seen by neighbors, it's pretty low.
I can't tell, I wasn't at the sidewalk, but I can't tell from the site plan or the lighting plan or the landscape plan what is going to screen all of these lumens from the neighbors. How much existing screen planting is there to do that?
It's a combination of existing and distance. It's also far from a neighbor. But Alex can speak to it, but I can, it's
I
very.
want to go to that site plan that had the lumens shown too.
Yeah, they all changed too. Oh yeah, the elevation changed, slide you over a little.
Where's the neighbor?
I mean, in terms of the new lighting that Alex talked about, this is all Meadowbrook, we actually live close to here, Steve. And so this is all heavily wooded in here. And this is, sorry JP, this is heavily wooded in here as well. So at 12 feet tall lights, there's not really any opportunity for this light to spill over at all outside the property. I think maybe the only place that Alex maybe could address is, I guess, the temporary.
Yeah, so all the fixtures that we selected are full cutoff, so you're not going to see the actual lamp, which is usually what we call any glare disturbance. And you can't tell on this, but if you look at the lighting counts up close, you can see that there's no foot candles. I mean, within the curves that you see, those are kind of distribution curves. The outer curve is where 0.1 foot candle is. So just beyond that outer curve is 0 foot candles. And like I said, you're not going to see the actual luminaire. So you really shouldn't have, it should be really minimal or no disturbance. And like he was saying, there's a lot of tree cover in that area. So it shouldn't be an issue.
And that's all school property too, so we're literally hundreds of feet away from any properties.
Where is the nearest neighbor? Can you
Probably, is it 25 on?
Yes, it's
On Autumn Street over
Roses.
there.
Yeah, on this road right there.
Which one is, are those buildings down there?
This, right here.
So that is a private house?
That is a private home, yeah.
Yes, and the fixtures that we do have along there, going halfway to 21 on them, those are all bollards, so those are all 3-foot tall fixtures. So they're gonna be
And
pretty
there's
low.
significant grade change and wooded area in here. I mean, you can almost not see each other.
What is the hatched area?
This area here?
All over.
That's all the lighting helps. You can't read it, but
Oh, it is, oh.
it's all the numbers.
There's foot candle numbers.
So beyond that, we're at 0.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did have a question about hours of operation of the lighting. Is that something you can speak to, Tom?
It's from dusk till 10 o'clock at night.
Sue, anything?
I'm very pleased with what you did for parking.
Oh, thank you.
That was really that's going to be a designated area. It's a lot better.
Yeah. Cambridge Water Department.
Yeah, what happened there?
I know.
Yeah. Guys?
I'm very irritated that they answered all my questions. Very thorough.
You can't win for losing. Yeah, I gotta say, it's a very thorough presentation, very clear what you intend to do, and I think the impacts for me are pretty low. I'm just wondering if is there a neighbor who might have a comment or a question? Yes,
I
could
just
you
want to take
identify
offense.
yourself?
I'm sorry, Susan Canterbury, 115 Meadowbrook Road, and I may not be the nearest to the corner, but I sure get the full width of the building and the illumination of the building. And I'm really of 2 minds about that, because I believe in security and safety, and I've never complained about it before, enough. But there are lights on the building at all levels that are on all night long. And you come in my driveway, that's almost, not quite, illumination of my driveway. I don't think any of you guys have seen it at night, but you might want to try. So if this is an opportunity, I mean, I'm thrilled that anything that adds to security and safety, so low lights that illuminate pathways are great. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care how many there are, because whatever safety expert thinks is appropriate is fine by me. But the lights on the building, again, there's probably a safety and security aspect to that as well, but it could be a little bit less. Somebody has to go look and see, but it's all night long out there.
Wait a minute, so we were just informed that they go off at 10.
10 o'clock.
So these are lights that are mounted on the building and wash the side of the wall?
They just
Or-
radiate
from the
out.
inside.
Or are they illumination within the classrooms?
No, this is exterior. I don't know if it goes
Exterior.
outside. Don't go inside.
No, but you can see.
Outside lights are on all night.
You said
Can I
they're
address
on-
At 10 o'clock.
Hi,
Okay,
Tom
they say
Bonner
they're
from
on-
Meadowbrook School. Susan, I think you're talking about the lights in the staircases?
No, outside, exterior light. Come over to the
Exterior.
house sometime, Tom, and check it out.
Check
I mean-
the sidewalks with it.
And they're on all night, you're saying?
Well, to be honest, I haven't checked at 3 in the morning, but whenever I come in my driveway at night, after dark, they're illuminated, and I can see it from my house, so I may not be the nearest, but I'm getting the broad view, not a corner view, on the other side of vegetation. And I have, behind my house, between my house and the school boundary, is all woods on my property, and yet I can see the lights that are mounted. And as I say, to some extent, there's a safety and security aspect, so I'm not gonna, go to the mat over that, but I really wish they could reconsider, because they turn them on and go home, and it's left, which is the usual story with construction.
Sounds like it's not their policy, so maybe
Yeah.
it's just a
No,
procedural.
Tom, maybe Tom, you can come over and look at it, it'd be nice. If
I will.
it's just some kind of commitment that they would look at it. My major concern, I have a few questions and a concern. We talked about this before, I'm sorry I didn't get to the sidewalk, but the planning board has, over some period, relatively recently, imposed limits on blasting. And Oh, and I should also say the school had a presentation for the neighbors, and they're all invited by letter and so forth. So it isn't like we haven't had any opportunity to hear the presentation. I never did get to see the detailed picture, which I could have probably, if I'd asked for it. But in any case, it came as a surprise to me later to learn that there might be some blasting, because the presentation at the time suggested that it was going to be a replacement in situ of the existing library learning center, that the thing that was so well shown in the two pictures before and after with the two separate buildings, and now it's going to be one larger building like this, which by the way is 25% more. To Rob, that's tiny. That's because he makes so much money. Small, it's 25% increase in square footage for the record, approximately. That's the best I can do. So I would very much appreciate the planning board, when you issue the order, to please impose the same blasting restrictions that you've been imposing. And in case I have to have a reason, I think this is a matter of record. I'm too far away from certain other places to be notified, according to the code, the fire department code. And yet the dishes in my closets shook, not because they're hanging by a thread, they really are well seated. So, and you guys are all well familiar with the fact that the presence of ledge is so erratic and peculiar that you get transmission in unexpected ways. So the conservative approach is best.
We'll
So
put our standard plastic protocol in the decision.
that would be really great. I really appreciate that. Okay, so some questions. So, you know, also, again, this is not an area of my expertise particularly, not that any of the architecture stuff is either, but the wetlands and floodplain protection, it's always been my impression that the place is in a swamp. The whole place is in a swamp, basically. Could never build on it today. And so I would like to see at least some formal consideration of, it may be that the technicality that they already exist and the changes are too small to make any impact or trigger any consideration of the wetlands. I just don't know, that's beyond my knowledge, but I'd sure like to see at least some formal review of whether the fact that the area is largely a swamp is taken into account. I believe I heard that there is a conservation action that has to be taken, a conservation review because of the wetland? What?
We'll be filing a notice of intent, probably tomorrow with the Conservation Commission,
Okay.
so there'll be a public hearing.
Okay, all right, so then maybe,
Our purview is just
Okay.
wetlands and floodplain protection district.
okay, fine.
It's an
So, I
overlay
mean,
district.
as I said, I'm not
Okay.
that knowledgeable, so
Okay.
if there's some way that you can formally look at it before just saying it's closed. I thought that's what you said
Okay,
earlier.
before we say the hearing is closed?
No, before you, I thought, maybe I misunderstood it, that when Rob said that he filed an evaluation, an analysis with John, and then you said, okay, then those two items are off the agenda. Maybe I didn't understand that.
Well, this is a special permit.
Right.
Excuse me, Ron, for this, for the floodplain, impacts on the floodplain and wetlands protection overlay district.
Mhm.
This isn't,
No, I get it, I get it.
Okay, it's
But
not a
all I'm saying
Concom
is,
issue.
is it appropriate to at least review it rather than just take his word for it that he's filed it and it's over?
I can answer that.
Yeah,
now.
go ahead.
The appropriate mechanism in terms of how it works is that I file my opinion to the building inspector, zoning official, Mr. Field, because he's the zoning enforcement officer as to that provision of the bylaw, and he makes the determination as to whether or not the special permit is required or not. So that's what we've done.
Oh, okay, so it's just challenging the need for it, I see.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then John has to render a decision.
he's already rendered the decision.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that. I
Okay.
didn't hear that at all, okay. Technical question, I just didn't follow. Is there a net increase in impervious surface of 5,000 square feet or of 3,000 square feet, or is there a net decrease? I just couldn't follow those numbers. It's a technical detail, and you may want to just...
No,
I can answer that right now. There's a total increase, the 5,000 square feet impervious increase was for the building and walkways, and then there's 3,000 for the parking lot for a net of about 8,000 square feet.
Oh, okay, all right, so you add them. I was
Add
trying all
8,000,
kinds of
yep.
arithmetic and not getting anywhere. Okay, so, and then, of course, I did make as much point as I can about the lighting, which I have to take into account. I realize that the existing lighting is really not a subject of the hearing, but I hope that it will be looked into. It sounds like all the additional lighting, however many additional lumens, is illuminating walkways
Right.
and go down, so
You will
sounds
see the
great to me.
fixtures.
But the high level stuff that beams out into the neighborhood is,
Okay.
you know, whatever you can do.
Okay.
And I guess my last comment is, after all the story with that septic a few years ago, 10 years ago at this point, wow, time flies when you're having fun. Why do we need to make any change in the septic system when the personnel numbers are not changing at all, which is what I thought?
We're not changing. So the
Did I
only-
miss here as well?
The time.
The only connection, the only change was that where the temporary classroom's going in, is we need to get that
Okay.
bathroom into the septic
Okay,
system.
okay.
So that's the change.
Okay, and that, okay, so I guess the changes have to do with construction, and they'll be undone, you know, leaving a conduit, removing wires is undoing satisfactorily.
That's it.
Okay, so those are my questions and
Okay.
comments.
So there's one question hanging, which is about, have you found ledge?
Well, the concentration of the work is in an area where there's an existing building. In this area here, when McDowell was built, it's my understanding that there was some ledge, and we're going down to the same level as McDowell. So, unfortunately, we've done test borings all over the area that we're working, but it's hard to do in an existing building where you have classrooms and kids at school. So, while we are hoping there is limited ledge underneath the existing building, we don't know that for sure. So we have an allowance with our contractor to deal with ledge. But until we take that building down, it's very difficult to understand to what extent. It's a relatively small area, and we've done everything we can because ledge costs money to mitigate, you know, so this building on the lower level, you know, we value engineered it down to a smaller area because this is underneath an existing building that we're taking down in order to limit how much ledge we hit. So it's pretty small.
And if there is any ledge, it's gonna have to be small blasting because there's kids
Yeah.
right next door.
Right.
And there's old buildings next to it too. The old original building has, you know, the foundation that we're worried about.
But the only thing we're talking about is, if there's ever a chance that you might encounter ledge, we have a standard sort of protocol. We just put in the decision
Yep.
that covers everybody in case you encounter it. If
Absolutely.
you don't encounter it, it doesn't trigger anything.
And we plan to be proactively implementing that prior to maybe even knowing whether we're going to ledge, so it doesn't hold up our schedule. So we'll be very on top of that, I promise.
Okay. Good. Any other questions or comments?
Hi, I just want to say as a neighbor
Could you
across the
identify
street.
yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Ann Ruggles. I'm a neighbor across from the house I bought. I'm at 22. If you are going to blast, legally, do you just have to notify the actual abutters? Because I don't know what's legal, what's not, but I'd really encourage you, if you are going to get into blasting, because I live in McDowell, there's a hell of a lot of blasting, cracks, it was pretty serious. So I just ask that you tell everyone on them, everyone on Loring, everyone on Meadowbrook, because you're better to cover your basis than irritate people. That would be my strong recommendation.
We have a list of neighbors that we invited to the informational session, and so everybody on that, I would imagine, would be
You gotta
notified in
widen
some
it.
way.
Loring, lots of people didn't know about
Okay.
it, so I think that list has to be widened. You're pretty much just inviting your actual butters, which maybe that's legal, but JP, I really encourage you to invite the actual neighborhood.
We have it's part of the protocol that we have is the notification protocol.
Yeah, super. Last survey, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. But it's more extensive than the standard state protocol. So it tends to sweep in a wider radius of people notified. one thing we could do is just verify some distances, to just make sure that people are notified in the whole area, because you're right in the middle of a big piece of property that you own, so we can take a look at that and just, put language in there that says, be sure and notify everybody that, might be impacted, that sort of thing, which you would do anyway, I'm sure.
And it's our intent, and Sean has done it before, is to set up, more informal notification of everything going on weekly through a website that we're going to invite all of our neighbors to have access to. So they'll have advance notice of certain deliveries or occurrences on site, things that might be posted.
All right.
I think she's on the opposite side of the water, so from the non-abutting side.
Yeah,
But she's
but
saying
it's
the whole
distance,
water.
it's not a
Yeah,
butters, it's
not a
not
butter.
distance.
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't fit into the 200-foot.
You would in this one.
Okay.
We require, actually, we typically require 400, but.
I remember this, yeah.
But it may be that some of the, because this is such a big piece of property, it may be that we need to sweep in more.
Well, it's in their interest, right, because they're not people already notified, so what are you saying, but not notified?
Right.
And it's in our best interest to keep it
Yeah, exactly.
manageable as well, because we have a lot of existing buildings right around the same place.
Right.
You notify everyone if we do.
That's,
It's not like we're building a freestanding home with nothing else around it.
all right. Any other comments? Yes, Dave.
Susan just kind of jarred something in my mind. Construction lighting at night, can that go off? Sometimes they like to leave the lighting on
For security?
for security, especially even when they're doing like the second and third floor and like the string lights, like the Polaroid building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
At 9 or 10, or, I mean, whatever.
who's the showman?
So my name's Randy Chaplin, I'm with Shaw Construction. So we can work whatever works best with the school and the town. We like to leave some light on as a safety concern. What we really like is to be able to have the school security, the town police department be able to see the site, as they approach it. But whatever restrictions are imposed, we'll certainly
Why
follow.
don't we put a condition on there that before construction starts, you can come back to us and just let us know where you want to keep the lighting on
Sure.
for security purposes, and we can work with you on that and see if we can, see if that looked okay, or if
Sure.
we might want to have
So
some.
we've in the past had police departments ask us to leave lights on, so we're happy to cooperate with the
Right.
net opinion, but in the past, that's why we've done it, because they'd like to have an officer be able to see what's going on as they pull up to something, as opposed, but
No,
whatever the net of that is, we'll be happy to cooperate with.
Here's a case though where a shielded light would really be great. You
Yep.
don't have to have the naked bulb.
Yep.
It can be in some sort of shielded
That's
fixture
true.
and still illuminate what you need. So, thank you, Dave.
Okay. Anyone else with questions or comments? In that case, we'll take a look at the draft decision. What date, John? 21st?
Yes.
21st of October, and what time?
9:30.
9:30. Okay, so we'll look at the draft decision, October 21st, at our meeting at 9:30. Now, the other two items of business we have scheduled in the agenda, so we need to just address it. First of all, the requirement for a special permit for impacts on the wetlands and floodplain protection district. I have a letter from Rob Gemma, the civil engineer, which says, to the board members, pursuant to our meeting with John Field on September 30th, I'm ready to confirm that the Meadowbrook School site redevelopment will not require a special permit for the proposed work within the wetland and floodplain protection district A. As background, Meadowbrook School is developing plans to reconstruct a portion of its existing K-8 grade facility. A limited portion of the area to be reconstructed lies within a District A, subject to protection under the 1980s Wetland and Floodplain Protection District map amended through October 19, 1981. Existing building coverage within the District A is approximately 1,320 square feet. The proposed plan will decrease the amount of building coverage by 472 square feet, reducing the building coverage within the district to 848 square feet. According to section VG2B, Roman 2 of the Weston zoning bylaw, the proposed work within the district is exempt from requiring a special permit, since the proposed activity decreases building coverage by 36%. So that means that we do not need to have that hearing and therefore will not open it. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, special permit for earth movement. Letter here for, again, or memorandum from John Field. Oh no. This is John Field's memorandum with respect to the floodplain protection district. Do we have a memorandum on the earth movement?
You should.
These two to deal with the overlay.
And they should be on the printer upstairs.
On the backside of the magazine.
No. Well,
Can you address the?
what I'll do is I'll reference, did you write a memorandum, John?
I did.
Did you write it on today's date?
Same format.
All right, then I'll reference your memorandum dated October 7th, dealing with the earth movement calculations, and Rob Gemma's assurance that the amount of earth movement anticipated is less than the minimum that would trigger the special permit, and therefore won't open the hearing for that either. So that having been said and all the business taken care of, we'll see you on October 21st. Thank you.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Good.
How you doing?
Yeah. I'm glad to, because I just have quite on top of my head. You guys
Yeah, no, you. No. Don't want to show the hockey rink I did. Right, no. I know, you're very, very familiar. Are we having I know, I lose track too. That's the problem. I'm not like, I'm thinking like out of context.
Yeah, I think so too.
I always lose track. But,
I'll figure it out.
I know, I'll think about it.
For you, but thank you so much.
You're just too clever.
Yeah, sure. Why did everybody leave? It's nice and toasty. And I like the fact that there's one interchange.
You know what?
You can do whatever you want.
How are you, Andy?
Well,
Yeah.
why did everybody leave?
I've got a quorum.
Come on, guys. Move it. I don't know. I've never heard of air conditioning.
Good, thanks, Andy. So these are the minutes that we just went over.
Come on, guys.
Small improvement.
Let's go fast.
Because I
How did you find out it was her?
Just, you know. We need to get us know these things.
That was recorded.
I know, but I just. Yes.
So,
I just, I'm like, that's all right. Okay, now what? That's all right, you just told me everything else.
That did work. I turned it on high, I feel something.
Air, actual air.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, John, we're ready to go.
the feeling impresses.